Ahoy, and welcome aboard to this quick tips video for Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. It's a seemingly straightforward game, but we have some great suggestions that can keep you from getting landlocked in a boss fight, spending too much time in the wrong areas, or running out of money. Heads up, there will be some minor location, sub-story, and mechanic spoilers along the way. If you want to keep all of it a surprise, you might want to cut anchor now and come back later. Otherwise, let's sail. I get paid extra for the puns. What do you want? Tip number 1. Mainline to get the hook in Chapter 2. Pirate Yakuza is a smaller game than the others in the Like a Dragon series, but there are still tons of activities to do, interesting side stories, and quests for pirate gold that can easily distract you for hours on end. Now, getting lost in the variety of things to do in Honolulu or out in the open sea is a major part of Pirate Yakuza's charm, but you can save yourself a ton of time in backtracking if you set your sights on one treasure in particular, the hook in Chapter 2. You'll find the hook halfway through Chapter 2. I should warn you though that the chapters in Pirate Yakuza are not the same length, and Chapter 2 in particular is at least twice as long as all the others. It's going to take a little dedication and discipline to get the hook quickly, and honestly really about 6 to 7 hours, but it's worth it to stay focused. Why is that, you ask? Well, the hook allows you to get onto the rooftops of Honolulu and other hidden areas throughout the game to find all sorts of valuable treasures. Secondly, the hook is an essential combat mechanic that allows you to quickly close large distances between you and your enemies. It's particularly useful for zipping around to the parts of a fight where you are needed most, escaping encounters you are losing, and most importantly, dealing with ranged enemies that can repeatedly stun you from far away. In ship combat, you can use the hook to get up to the crow's nest, giving you a better angle with the rocket launcher. Lastly, you can also use the hook to fish, netting you tons of fresh ingredients for cooking health and stamina recovering meals that you can consume mid-battle. So, as you can tell, the hook itself is great, but reaching this point in the game also unlocks your ability to recruit your pirate crew. Potential recruits are spread across multiple locations in the game, so being able to find them as you progress organically adds a lot of enjoyment. Sometimes there will be a crew requirement, or you will unlock more space on your ship, so it's good to be collecting crew members all the time. Tip number 2, upgrade health and strength early and often. The max health boost and attack boost upgrades are easily the best two in the game. There is such a notable increase in both stats with each upgrade that by the time you fill out the first row, you can smash right through basic enemy encounters, mash through the medium ones, and style on the more difficult ones with a few well-timed button presses, at least for a decent while before you'll have to start upgrading the second row. There are other important skills to upgrade early on, and we have a separate video about that, but for the most part, you really should try to upgrade your health and attack as early and often as you can, especially if you take our first tip to heart and want to mainline to the hook in Chapter 2. The ability to survive longer and deal out damage more quickly will keep you from failing combat encounters, but it's essential for taking on more difficult bounties, which is a really fast way to earn money in Pirate Yakuza. Tip number 3. Fast ways to get money and upgrades. Cold hard cash is the primary currency for upgrading Majima's ability as well as your pirate ship's capacity and weapons. As mentioned before, collecting bounties is the best way to quickly earn large sums of cash. But for better upgrades, you'll also need a hefty pile of pirate action points. These are basically reputation points that are gained by doing almost anything. You can check the specifics by going to the Goro Pirates menu on the pause screen, then select challenges. Most of these challenges can be done without even thinking about them, like walk 10 kilometers on foot. But if you find that you're just a bit shy of an upgrade you really want, you can try to find an easy challenge that requires you to do something a bit more specific, such as traveling by taxi 10 times or taking 5 selfies with someone else while they're posing. Maybe a little presumptuous, but who wouldn't want to take a selfie with Majima? Story missions and treasure hunting will get you the best bang for your buck when it comes to the larger challenges that reward you with the most pirate action points, especially once you have the hook to make certain things a bit easier. An added benefit of treasure hunting is that the rings you find can be equipped, giving Majima up to 10 equipment slots worth of passive buffs. And lastly, one other great way to get action points is through ship combat and winning matches in the Pirates Coliseum. That's going to take a little more time and work, but don't worry, we got you covered with this next tip. Tip number 4. Leveling your pirate crew. If you want to steamroll some unworthy sea dogs in nautical combat, you'll need to start leveling your crew members and ship capacity as early as possible. Crew members level by fighting and by receiving gifts. Giving more rare or expensive gifts is a quick way to level up new recruits to catch them up with everyone else once you've been grinding for a while. Every pirate crew member has specialized stats that complement their combat class at a maximum level. Standard crew members cap out at 20, while others can go up to 30 or even 40. Brawlers and defensive crew members are the most common, so it's a good idea to seek out a few recruits with ranged and melee weapons. For the more difficult challenges in the Pirate Coliseum, you can change the layout of your crew to match or counter whatever opponent crews specialize in, but for story missions, you can usually sprinkle in a ranged fighter here or there and be just fine. Your crew will see 2 phases of combat in big ship battles, an open water vessel-to-vessel combat phase, and then a boarding phase. If you don't invest in leveling your crew before taking on these potentially difficult encounters, they'll get wiped out quickly, leaving you to deal with a large variety of strong enemies on your own. And that's not the worst thing in the world if you don't die, but it does take a little bit longer. Now, in the first phase of ship combat, deck crew hands are in charge of important roles like cannons and machine gun fire, so if they have low health, a well-placed cannon shot or two will take them out, effectively removing your ability to return fire. That's no good, so keep crew members with high health and defensive stats, or at the very least high levels, in those deck positions. Finally, remember to keep rotating your crew as they max out, so you have a lot of options for crew composition as you upgrade the ship and new positions become available. If you're having a difficult time getting to the boarding phase, head over to the ship upgrade menu and upgrade your durability as well as your cannons once or twice, or even try different weapons like the laser cannon or the flamethrower, which you can find at Julie's Gearworks. Ramming is also super effective. Tip number 5. Find at least some of the dark instruments. This tip is not essential, but definitely very helpful. During the campaign near the end of the second chapter, you'll acquire the first of 4 dark instruments. Each instrument allows you to summon the curse of an ancient god during combat, which takes the form of an elemental animal and wreaks havoc on your foes. For example, the first one is a violin that summons massive sharks that splash out of the earth and slam back down, stun-locking enemies and doing tons of damage. Collecting the rest of the instruments is completely optional, but if you find yourself needing an extra edge in combat or behind in upgrades, it's highly recommended that you seek out the dark instruments by continuing the Devil Flags questline. During this very long quest, you are tasked with defeating all the captains in the Devil Flags pirate crew, which nets you treasure and actual flags. You need a certain amount of flags to find and confront each captain, and as you go, you will come across all the dark instruments. Now, getting to each Devil Flag island or ship battle can be a bit of a drag, and clearing the challenge once you get there is also grindy, but the reward in some cases can be a treasure worth 100,000 points in reputation and about the same amount in gold. We found this one close to Madlantis, and there are more out there. Finding them is certainly a long-term investment that pays off, but it is a slog. That's why we recommend at least getting up to the second instrument, which has a pretty low flag requirement, and from there you can decide if you have the patience for the rest. The other instruments are fun and very effective in combat, but you certainly don't need any of them to finish the game. You can also earn 100,000 in gold and rep by doing other stuff, like completing all the vocational school exams. Maybe also a little bit grindy, but we got a guide up on the site with all the answers on it. You don't have to look, but you know, it's there. We got you. If the curse of an ancient god doesn't solve whatever problems you're facing in regards to combat, or maybe you just didn't want to bother, then make sure you're stocking up on plenty of healing items when you pass a shop and cooking up lots of different meals when you can in order to cheese the item limit and take advantage of all the upgrades you've been putting into max health. And that's it. Those are our general tips for getting through Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Remember to speed through chapter 2, get the hook, level your crew, and do lots of bounties. Thanks for watching, and if you're looking for some more guidance on what skills to get first, we've got a video for that, and for everything else. Keep it